welcome back. If you've been to an HSbooster webinar before, welcome back. And we're very pleased to be back here for the second edition of HSbooster. My name's Nick Ferguson, and I'm a Senior Manager at Trust IT Services. We're an SME based in a very hot Pisa in Italy. And I'm very pleased to be welcoming everyone back to the second edition of the HSbooster project. So if you could go to the next slide, thanks. So you might see some familiar faces at the top of the screen. We have Maria and Signe from Dansk Standard, and Maria from Trust IT, and Paola Amato, who's one of our experts. So I'll be introducing those in a minute, but those are our speakers today, and very pleased to say that we have over 150 registrants for today's webinar, which is fantastic. And I think a lot of you will probably be people who contributed to the first HSbooster, either as a standardization expert delivering the mentoring services, or perhaps as a project who benefited from and followed a mentoring service, or maybe you used some of the training material which we have in our training academy. So the first booster, which was a pilot for a European standardization booster, ran for 3 years. And here we basically recruited a community of over 90 standardization experts who mentored directly over 200 projects on a one-to-one format, and provided information on the standardization landscape, so raised awareness of standards as a vehicle for exploitation and dissemination and creating more impact for a project, identifying relevant technical committees or groups or areas where a project could contribute to, or even the existing standards which they should be adopting and incorporating into their research project. And also providing actual hands-on support to projects in contributing to standardization activities. So this has had quite a lot of impact in the project world, and also on the experts who delivered these services. And as you can see, that we had over 30 events as well. And in this new HSbooster project, which will run for the next 3 years, we look to scale up and implement some of the lessons that we learned from delivering the services. So in a moment, you're going to hear from Signe, who will describe the new services which we're implementing. The new booster will continue the mentoring services, so this one-to-one format where we match projects to standardization experts. But then we'll be providing new services. So firstly, trying to get standardization and understand where standardization can play a role in a project at the proposal phase. So helping proposal writers to think about how they could, in a structured way, incorporate a strategy in their proposal. And then also providing really quite hands-on and longer-term support to an individual project, which is, should we say, standards ready, so have results which are suitable to contribute to standards, and providing this one-to-one support to them over a longer period. So we have 2 new services to introduce to the community, and we're also scaling up in terms of the number of projects which we target. So in the first HSbooster, our target were EU-funded projects, so Horizon projects. In this new edition, we'll also be targeting nationally funded projects too. So this is a bigger step, and we hope to engage nationally funded projects and provide this support to them. One of the big successes was the Training Academy, which you may have seen, where we have over 20 modules and over 20 webinars as well, training events available online, and this will be updated and scaled up as well in terms of content. And then the project will also look and investigate how a recognition system for researchers contributing to standards could look like. So this again is an important impetus and way to engage researchers more in the standardization activities. You can also see that we have a broader consortium as well with different roles. So in a minute, we'll hear from Signe from the Dansk Standard in terms of the design of these new services and their implementation. We also, again, have the University of Belgrade, who are training specialists who have devised the training academy, and even our serious smiley game as well. So gamification is a big part of this project too. We're joined by Fraunhofer this time as well, who will be leading the work and the investigation into the recognition system, and SEN, who is our gateway to the standardization community in terms of identifying priority areas and engaging with technical committees so that we find the right experts in new areas which we'll cover, and we'll look at the different open call topics which we'll be exploring in this new HSbooster. And then finally, we're joined by Meta, who are the coordinating partner of the European Commission's booster service. So we're looking to engage more projects that are also receiving dissemination and exploitation services from the booster services, and trying to funnel them also to raise awareness of standardization for them. So we have a lot to do and a lot to cover in this webinar. So Maria, if you could go to the next slide. As I've said, Signe will be giving a much more detailed overview of the services, the mentoring, and the new services. We'll then hear from Maria on how you apply, both from a project perspective and so from an expert perspective as well, so very practical. And then we'll hear from Paola as well. This is very important because Paola really got involved with two projects in HSbooster, the first HSbooster. So we'll hear from those projects, the impact that she's had as a mentor on herself, and also on these two projects, Highway and Reflect Africa. And then at the end, we'll have a good 15 minutes for any questions and answers, which you should start sticking in the Q&A box. We'll try and address them as the event goes on, but also at the end, we'll have a good 15 minutes to deal with them as they collect. So with that, I'll hand over to you, Signe. So, oh no, I won't. Thank you, Maria. Everything's been recorded, so we'll publish this on the website as soon as possible this week. So the presentations will be up today, and then the recording obviously will take a day or so. Q&A, please put your questions in the Q&A box. It's easier for the speakers to answer and also for us to collect. And please subscribe to our newsletter, where we'll be providing continuous updates on the project over the next 3 years. So with that, I can now hand over to Signe, who's in Copenhagen. Over to you, Signe.
Thank you very much, Nick. As mentioned, my name is Signe. I'm from the National Standard Body of Denmark, and I'm also a partner in HSbooster II. I will quickly walk you through the 3 services that we are offering in HSbooster. As mentioned also by Nick, we are this time targeting both European research and innovation projects, but also national research and innovation projects in Europe. So regardless if you are from a European project or a national project, then you will be able to apply to these services. So the first service, some of you may already know, it is called the mentoring service. In HSbooster 1, it was called the premium service. So if you have been in the premium service, then it is the same as what is now called the mentoring service. The mentoring service has 2 main streams. One of them is the one-on-one mentoring, which you can see on your left-hand side with the blue marking. This service, when a project, a research innovation project applies, they will be matched with a standardization expert within their area. This means that this expert is giving unique advice for this specific project. And this can cover topics such as mapping of the standardization landscape. It can also cover what can be the engagement strategy with standardization bodies. And they can, of course, also give high-level strategic guidance, for example, on what could be relevant standardization deliverables that this particular project can contribute to. This is also somewhere where you can get, for example, knowledge about how do you get involved in standardization. And the reason why projects should consider this service is, for example, if you would like to explore a different path for valorization for your project, or for example, a pathway on how can we go from having some excellent research and innovation results and actually making them be useful for the market and also have some entry to the market. And additionally, this is also a gateway to some additional support, which I will be mentioning a little bit later in the accelerator service. Then the second main element of the mentoring service is what we call the project cluster workshops, where on the one-on-one mentoring, there is one project applying, getting advice from one expert. In the cluster workshops, it's a cluster of projects that's applying that will be then linked to several experts within their area of expertise. This means that you have the chance to discuss, for example, joint standardization challenges with projects that are similar to yourself or your own project. This also means that it's able to have really some nice discussions about this thematic area that you're applying for. So really, this one is really ideal for if you have the need for some collective learning or having some workshops within your area. And as mentioned, you will also be linked with more than one expert, which of course can also give some nice synergies. The good news is that this service is opening today. So that means that this webinar is not just to inform you, it's also the opening of the mentoring service. So as of today, you will be able to apply for this service. This service is first come, first serve. So maybe you should apply before your neighbor, because the earlier you apply, the earlier you will also receive the service. The average of this service is a duration of 3 months, where you will have 2 to 4 meetings with these experts or workshops if it's a cluster workshop. They're topic-based. And as mentioned, this will also be the gateway to one of the new services on acceleration, which I'll get back to in a second. So next slide, please. We have some open call topics. These are the main areas that projects should be within in order to apply. We have just mentioned sort of the main headings here. There's also some more specific details. These topics have been selected based on that we believe that they have a very high standardization potential. So that means that projects within this area can more easily be linked up with relevant standardization activities. The topics we have selected are health, resilience, smart cities and circular economy in buildings, sustainable digitalization, green transition in Europe, and also the single market and product safety and compliance. As you can see, there are also some subtopics. I won't go through those today, but you'll be able to also see those on if you are applying. When you are applying, which Maria will get back to, you will also have to select one of these topics that your project is in. This is, of course, to make sure that we can match you with the relevant expert. So we need to know which area you are in. So next slide, please. So this is one of the new services called the Accelerator service. In the Accelerator service, we are looking more into what can be done in practice in regard to standardization. There is no application process because the projects that receive this service will be selected based on their standardization potential and readiness. So they will have to first go through the mentoring service, and then if we see there's a very high standardization potential and readiness, then they can be funneled into this service afterwards. This service is dedicated to projects that are ready to contribute to standardization now. For example, if we see that there are some deliverables in the project that are highly linked to existing standardization activities or linked to gaps in the standardization system, then these may be very good candidates for also receiving this accelerator service. What is different from this service and the mentoring service is that where the mentoring service is focusing on giving advice, this one goes beyond advice and helps with practical support in regard to how you can actually implement this advice in real life. So that means that the experts that are supporting these services will give practical guidance on elements like, for example, if I would like to develop a new standard, how do I actually do that? Which formulas do I have to fill in? Do I have to connect with a national standard body? And all the practical elements needed to know when developing a standard. It can also be something like strategic advice on how can I actually influence existing standardization. Because sometimes a project will be within an area where standardization already exists. And it may be highly beneficial to make sure that the innovations in that particular project is included in the existing standardization system. So how can this be done in practice? This service takes up to 6 months, where we expect the effort from the expert to be around 7.5 days, and over several meetings between the expert and the project. As mentioned, this is not a service that you can apply for, but of course we would like for you as well to indicate if this is something that you would be interested in if we find that there is a high standardization potential in the project. Next slide, please. Then finally, another new service we have is called the Proposal Support Service. I'm taking that just by reading the title, you can imagine what this service is about. This service is aimed at persons who are applying for a research and innovation project, so proposal developers. So where the other two services are for projects that are existing or concluded, this service is for persons who are writing proposals. So now you can also receive advice on how to include standardization in your project proposal. This can be relevant for many different proposals. Of course, if it's written in the call text that you need to know about standards or contribute to standardization, it's a given that it will be interesting to look at this service. But it could also be, for example, if you expect to reach a higher TRL in your project, it may be relevant to look at. If there's a need for conformity with regulation or trust in your innovation, then it may also be very interesting for you to look at this proposal service and see if it makes sense for you to include standardization in your proposal. Another thing that we are able to do in this service is that we can review what's already existing out there. So that means that when drafting your proposal, you will also be able to already at proposal stage know which standardization committees and professionals to engage with once the project is hopefully approved and starts. And this is a short duration. We expect 1 working day from the experts who are giving this advice. Yeah, and I think there's a little mistake on this slide. We will of course correct that. It says no application. There will be an application for this one. It just has not started yet. This service is going to start on the 1st of September. So that means that if you are planning to make a project after the 1st of September, then you will be able to apply for this. Yes. And finally, I can just talk maybe a little bit about the next slide as well, why Maria correct this slide. I have been talking now about the 3 different services that we are offering in HSbooster. And I have also mentioned several times that we have standardization experts who are giving this advice to the projects where we match the project with the relevant expert. These experts are from what we call the external pool of experts. These experts carry out the services. They are recruited by a continuous call that you can find on the website. I know it's also in a link in a QR code in the beginning of the presentation. What we are aiming at is recruiting standardization experts. And what is a standardization expert? This can be, for example, someone who works in a national standard body, but it can, to a high degree, also be persons who have been participating in standardization or contributing to standardization for several years. And it can be in various areas. As you see, we span quite broadly from health to sustainability and so on. So we are looking for experts in as many subject areas as possible. The role of the standardization expert, is that they should be able to map the standardization landscape in specific areas. So not in all areas, but within that area of your expertise. Additionally, they should be able to give advice on what can be the standardization strategy of a project. Educate about standardization, also using the training academy that we have developed in HSbooster, and guide on how do I reach out to the standardization bodies and which one should I reach out to, for example, depending on who's leading the standardization work in this area or the country that you are from. These experts do cross-service delivery. That means that the experts are used both for the mentoring, the accelerator, and the proposal service. So when applying to become an expert, you should also indicate which of these services you believe you would be able to give advice and support on. Of course, you will be remunerating for your effort. So that means that these experts are paid. The projects, it's free of charge for them to apply, and the experts are then paid to give the advice on a fixed rate, depending on which of these three services that have been given. And every one of these services that have been provided by an expert, it has to end up with a report, a short report about the service given and the advice given as well. And of course, we need to sign a contract with these experts as well. But that was a little bit about the role of these experts. Maria is now going to walk you through how you can actually apply to the services and also in becoming an expert. So over to you, Maria.
Thank you very much, Signe. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome also from my side. So I will quickly show you practically from the project website and the other platform that we use to manage the mentoring service, how you can apply if you are an EP or if you are a project. The procedure is similar. Let's say you just need to bear in mind there are two different registration links. But the steps are, first, you have to register on the HSbooster website. We have a link for the EP and a link for the project. Then you have to log in to the website. And then after you are logged in the website, you will need to access the SOP platform. To show you more practically, I have actually pre-recorded. So if you are EPE, you need to basically go on the website. You can click on this page where you see all the procedure. It's called How To. I'm just scrolling very quickly, but you will see all the details of, all the steps. And then after you have a look at the full guide, if you want to know what happens in the whole process, you can go again under the experts menu and click on EPE Open Call. In this EPE Open Call, you will see the link to your registration for the website. So the registration is made of an initial part where you have to provide, of course, your personal information, such as the email, your title, your name, surname, picture if you want, phone number. You need also to fill in all the other compulsory fields, such as your company name, your company type, And then we have the gender, the country, job title is also compulsory, and then you have something that's not compulsory, but then you have to accept, of course, all the privacy and terms of use, and then you can click on register. And so you have a profile on the website as an EPE. Then you click on login, and you log in with the credentials that you just, of course, created. So let me log in with my EPE profile. And after you do this, you can go back to the overview page where you find not only the registration form, but also the SOP form. So you have to go on sop.hsbooster.eu, that's the URL, and you will enter a different space like this one. In this case, you see, let's say the title, Standard Operating Procedure Management Platform. And then on the left side, you see two menu voices. One is My Applications, and one is Assigned Services, which of course you can enter once you are a fully, let's say, contractualized expert, and you will get some projects assigned to you. So if you want to apply for the EPE call and you want to become eligible to receive experts, you will just need to click on My Applications. You will see this page with the name of the open call, pool of standardization experts, some information on this. And in my case, I've already, let's say, submitted a test application as an EPE, so we will not submit again, but I will show you how the, let's say, submitted application looks like with fake data, of course, but just to give you an idea of the type of information that we will ask. So you will find this same space, but instead of view application, you will find the button apply. Okay, so now I click on view application, which is what you see after you have applied, but you will see apply. So the information we ask is, first, we ask you the open call topics that you would like to be considered for. The topics are the ones that Signe already explained, and you can select up to 5. So for instance, I have selected these ones: pandemics, COVID, digital healthcare, etc. And for each of these, you see you can basically write some text to explain, so provide evidence of your expertise and the primary type of support that you can offer. So for instance, in some cases, I selected standardization mapping. In some other cases, I selected landscape analysis, and you will be able to select different types of consultancy service that we think will be relevant for the mentoring service. Then after the topic, there is another section that's called Standardization Roles and Evidence of Participation in SDOs. So you will be asked if you have experience or roles in standardization and if you are a member of an SDO. And if yes, you will be able to provide the details. Okay, so you will have more roles. I inserted one role in this case. I selected the SDO, the number, my role in that SDO, the title, so the name, the years of experience. Of course, it's all, dummy text. But if you insert more SDOs and more, types of experience, you will have different rows for each of the roles that you want to signal to us. Then, after the SDO part, you will be asked to explain your fit with HSbooster services. So in this case, try to explain the type of support that you can offer, the type of experience that you have in supporting R&I projects, even beyond, I would say, standardization, any evidence of knowledge of your valorization experience, any additional standardization expertise that you have outside the list of topics. And please consult also the, guideline page that I show in the beginning, because there you will find also some indication of the type of extra information that we appreciate reading about you, because they help us assess your profile better and match you better with an applicant project. Then the last section is availability, languages, and preferences. We ask some information about this because we also have national projects applying. And we ask you also which type of services you would like to be considered for. Then you have a section for uploading your CV, your declarations, and then you will have a button where you can apply. And this is the other section I was mentioning. Once you are contractualized, if you get assigned a service, you can enter here and you will see, let's say, assuming this is a project that has applied, you will see the information about the project owner, the project itself, and then you can click on Go to Service to start the service. So this is the overview for the EPE part. And now let's have a look at the project side. It's similar, let's say, to the EPE. The difference is you have a dedicated menu item on the home page, so you will click on projects. Again, you can click on how it works. You will find a similar step-by-step guide as the EPE. You find all of this information. I'm not explaining, but it's just more detailed information that Signe provided. Again, you find the link to your registration page. You register as a project, so with the dedicated email, you provide your company, your gender, and you provide all the compulsory, let's say, consents. And then again, you have to log in with the profile you have just registered. And now I will log in with my project email. Again, I will click on sop.hsbooster.eu. And after switching, let's say, to the SOP platform, I will find basically the same interface that I just showed, because the platform, of course, is the same. You can go on My Applications, the same. You find mentoring, because it's the only one that's open now. But then when we open the proposal one, you will find also the possibility to apply for the proposal service. Now let's view my fake application. But again, in this case, you will find, let's say, the apply button instead. We will ask general information about your project, such as the name, the funding program, the grant agreement number, the project call, etc. Then you can select the open call topics, and the list is the same for both experts and projects. So you are primarily matched based on this. Then you can provide information on the type of requested support that you request. The type of support is again the same as the experts. So for instance, identification of standards, standardization mapping, because that's also a secondary element that we consider for the matching. Then there is a section about standards knowledge. So in this case, I replied that I don't have previous knowledge. That's, I think, the case for the majority of the project. But instead, if you reply yes, you will be asked more information similar to what we asked to the expert. So what type of standards you want to get in touch with, what type of SDOs or TC, if you already have some indications or some preference. It's very short. Actually, after we ask you this type of information about standards knowledge, you just need to provide your consent, and then you will apply. And also, it's not visible here, but you will have an extra question where you will be able to basically indicate if you want the service only for yourself or if you want it as a group, because as Signe said, we also offer the workshops as a cluster of projects. So that's all for the part about the website. It was a bit quick, but I hope you got the process. I leave the floor back to Nick maybe now.
Yeah, thanks, Maria. That's excellent. Thanks also, Signe. There's lots of questions in the Q&A box, so maybe Maria and Signe, you could have a look at those. We'll also look at those questions because there's quite broad questions, which is probably interesting for most people. So we'll look at those after Paola gives her presentation. She, as we said at the beginning, she was one of our very active standardization experts. Again, to repeat this, we've built a large community of experts, over 90 who actually delivered the services. We created a pool. When a project comes in with a request which matches the expertise of the expert, that's when we activate the the expert, and we match you basically together. So Paola's going to tell us a bit more about herself and also the 2 projects which she mentored in the first project. So Paola, thank you very much, and over to you.
Hello. As Nicola said, I've been an expert in HSbooster since 2002, from the beginning 2023. It's important to remark that I have a technical background. I'm an architect engineer, and I have also a mastery in advocacy, a PhD in energy, and it's very important to the kind of service I have provided and support and mentoring I've provided to have a background also both legal and technical. Because when we're talking about dealing with standards, it is essential to have this background and to advise, projects in not only at the technical side, but the side of the decision-making process. I will present briefly 2 of the significant projects I have advised. In total, I had advised something like 7 projects, 3 of them in hydrogen. At the time, in 2023, there was a kind of lot of interest because of the Russian aggression to Ukraine starting and problem with energy in general. So one project is about highway. It's called the highway. It's about new use of ammonia as a carrier to avoid embrittlement of existing. So exploring materials, especially metals, and to avoid these this was very, very innovative, let's say. And the second one is about energy in the field of energy and agriculture and the reusable water. In the case of this project about metal embrittlement, this was extremely interesting. It was an Horizon project, and it's been quite pioneering. There is a remarkable, this mentoring, you have an initial indication by the project, by the partners, especially the active one, an initial indication of what are the requests. Generally, it's a kind of orientation. And then as an expert, I try to combine their initial request with the possibly targeted knowledge. And it's important to remark, especially in this field, I notice generally there is a lack of knowledge. Sometimes what is the EU process and how do you collaborate with the standard organization? This aspect is particularly important in all projects I had advised. And in the field of, especially of hydrogen, at the time, there was a kind of rush towards introducing hydrogen and making it more like a possible fuel, replacing, the fossil fuels. So I had made this kind of approach, which is synthesized in these graphics. On the part of the partner, I advised the partnership on one side, trying to understand what was on at EU level, at the level of a policy development, and favoring, hydrogen, and at the level of collaboration with by the EU with the standard organization. The other indication was request from the partners was how to cooperate for future development, because it was a pioneering field, especially ammonia as a carrier to avoid embrittlement. They wanted to find a way to approach and contact the possible standard organization. So my role was to get them understand which could be the significant, standard organization that they could approach. And also, as a parallel, also research new and improved the standards, identify relevant areas, and their specific request was not only on the side of hydrogen, but also on the side of possible management of a platform, so the security of digital platform. So this was the kind of approach. I will go quickly through these, but as an expert and as not only a technical expert, but also a legal expert, it is important for any service on the part of partnership to understand in which way, as I told initially, the EU collaborates with the standard organization, because this has been an evolving process and it's completely sometimes ignored. This also helps projects to retrieve and identify the key relevant documents that the European Commission produces in general. And which are the priorities on which the collaboration starts. So this is a very complicated field and it's often ignored. On the other side, which is similar, it was also provide an orientation of the EU in an evolving scenario that focused on hydrogen. In which way hydrogen could be fossil fuel. There are many aspects that could be somehow probably too for experienced professional, but sometimes they have an enormous importance when you have to identify which, especially the request initially was, how can I influence the process? How can I collaborate with us though? If you don't understand these fields, both at the policy and the level of EU policy in the field of hydrogen, it's very difficult then to grasp how you can collaborate and in which way you can collaborate with the standard organization. So I will go quickly, but for example, in this project, they had to draft also a document. So I advised to analyze which were the main documents of the European Commission with regards to standardization process. And especially the key documents refer to the European Parliament Research Center, which are essential, very clear, they have a reference to the normative, and are extremely important to identify the process. Another aspect which was always underestimated was referring to how hydrogen was to be used as a fossil fuel, as an alternative to conventional fuels. And so, which was, for example, the problem with embrittlement, which were the problem of additionality, which means are we using, the green fuels, and so we are subtracting from community the use of renewables. So there are aspects very important that have to be taken into consideration, and for which the partnership had to be sort of get familiar with and get acquainted to this kind of a discussion. And how, for example, which was along the value chain of hydrogen, it's possible standards that should be used. In this case, it was how we can identify safe metals, how safe could be the metals, and there were a lot of experimental metals who could resist to embrittlement. At the same time, here I will go quickly, but if I have already somehow presented this, but again, this was an overview of the most updated documents of the European Commission, the European Union, concerning the hydrogen, and which was the state of the art of the discussion, the policy at the policy and the legal level. This other project, it was an Horizon, this is a second one. This was an Horizon 2020, and it was about possibility of new plans for reusing water and energy, create some renewable plant and reuse water. So in this specific project, which was developed in different continents. The technology was from a Spanish coordinator. So it was a European technology to be experimented and piloted in Africa. And this plant should be useful they wanted to identify area of standards. It touched quite a lot of areas of food, agriculture, water use, and so on. And it was a key also aspect about biochar, which is the byproduct of this biogas waste, where there was not so many indication on standards. So my role was to help them identify which were the area, how many area, which were the standard organization they could approach. Also, they asked me about procurement, because they had, of course, they had allocated some funds on the African partner, but they had problems in them to launch procurement for the realization. So we also worked on procurement at the international levels, or which were the rules and standards. Of course, in the end, there was a different decision to transfer the budget to the EU partner, which was a far faster and more secure. In all those projects, I must say, I gave as a transversal advice to contact the training team of the booster, which was run, as Nicola said, by the University of Belgrade. They had extraordinary high-quality documents, but also very straightforward, very incredibly simple, easy to access. And they also provided something, I must say, called the Smiley Game, which was a role play, which provided, especially if you have to think, all these partnerships are made of a lot of partners. And so they are not all aligned on standard, on the knowledge on standard. So my takeaway was always, please contact the University of Belgrade through the partnership, the booster, the HSbooster. And so my an important advice here, I just skip because these are the parts that I already presented. The most important advice I always gave was to share with the knowledge with the partner, because as you know, partners from different countries, different member states have a different knowledge, no matter the technical knowledge, but they have a different knowledge, or they lack knowledge on how to approach, how the standard organization work. Also prioritize the technical area you want to focus on, because in some projects like this one, for example, there were several areas of standards, water use, biochar, and so on. And so it was important also to prioritize and then go for the most promising, and for the one who were ensuring actually some improvements and some application of their research outcome and innovation outcomes. Also try to understand how the standard organization work, especially through the training. And again, for me as a technical expert, but also as an advocacy expert, also try to understand EU policies. Now, how the EU collaborates with the standard organization in order to understand how you can collaborate with the standard organization. And then another takeaway, much related to the legal process, also try to facilitate liaise information between the legal experts and the technical experts within the partnership, because it must be a joint endeavor and it needs some stringent collaboration between them. I hope this was enough. It was very quick.
Thank you very much, Paola. That was excellent, especially that final slide about how to, really get the best out of the the services, and those experiences you've had with those two projects show the benefit that you've got. A project has in terms of getting expert advice and guidance on how to address standards in their project, and also the benefit it's had on you as well as an expert. So we've had a lot of questions in the Q&A box, and it's probably if I can ask Maria and Signe to turn on their cameras again, also Paola as well, if you want to comment on any of these questions which are coming in, because I think that there's quite a few around the delivery of the services and the suitability of the services for some projects. There's been a couple of questions about whether or not HSbooster can provide funding for people funded in a project to contribute to standardization activities. Okay, so you join a technical committee and you're paid to do this by HSbooster. So this is outside of the remit of our project in terms of funding you to do something. What the project does is provides funding for an expert to give guidance for you to do this activity. I don't know, Signe or Maria, if you want to add anything to that. Nope. Okay, so just to say that, because we had a couple of questions about that. This was something we offered in HSbooster 1, but not in the second project because we didn't have much uptake, interestingly. So it's interesting we've had two questions on that here today. I don't know, Signe or Maria, if there's any question you'd like to pick up in the Q&A in particular.
Maybe, yes, maybe I can take one which has been asked twice. I answered only once, but then I repeated regarding the timeline to process the applications. So if you are an expert, as soon as you submit the application, it's enough. You don't have to do anything else. You will receive just a comment once you are passed as an eligible EPE. So if your profile is considered to be suitable, you receive a notification that you are eligible, and then that's it. You will just need to wait until we find a project that is suitable for you. And once we find a project that's suitable for you, you will be contacted by me to sign a contract, which will be valid for all the future projects that you will be assigned to. So you sign only once, the first time. So regarding instead the waiting time for the projects, on average, based on the past edition experience, I think you can expect around 1 month between the time when you apply and the time when you start the service. And this time is needed first to check your application that's suitable, that's complete, etc. Then for us to identify the expert, and in case we don't have an expert that's already good for you, maybe we have to recruit specifically. This could lengthen a little bit the waiting time. And then once we find this, you will be able to start. Okay, so even considering also that the open call doesn't close, it's always available, and we address the requests as soon as they arrive. First come, first served, as Signe said. The sooner you apply, the better.
All right, I have a question as well that I would like to look into. It's if you have received the mentoring service, what would be the added benefit of going on to the accelerator service? So you can see the mentoring service as more of what should be done. It's advice on the standardization strategy you can have, the technical committee you can link up with, and so on. But if you progress into the accelerator service, then you will also get the how in more detail with some practical advice on, for example, if we find out there's a standard being developed within your area, then we will help you find out when is the next meeting in the working group, how can I actively contribute to this work. So it's more hands-on in regard to the practical aspects of contributing to standardization work.
And also maybe Nick, I can reply to, there is a question about the confidentiality of the information that the projects provide when they apply for the service. So basically when you apply, you are asked if we can publish only a short summary of your standardization activities and your project general description. So that's the only, and okay, you have to confirm if you allow us to basically promote that you as a project have applied for the service and in general what you are doing. That's the only thing that, if approved, gets published on the website. But for all the other things, documents of the project, etc., they are only visualized by the expert, by us, by the HSbooster team, because we have also, for statistical purposes, understand what's been done, and by the EC, but they are not disseminated.
Maybe I could add to that. So all of our experts sign a non-disclosure agreement. Okay, in particular, if you're doing a proposal, we totally understand that things are very private. So the experts, and obviously ourselves as well, we sign a non-disclosure agreement. And as Maria said, not so much for proposals, but for the projects, we have a page about the projects who have applied. So there's no, if something's confidential, we'll not publish it. It's just more about the project and maybe about the impact that's been created, but nothing. If there's something you don't want us to publish, we don't publish it. So you need to tell us, and we certainly would not be going into detail that would be, private. Okay, so this is more of a dissemination activity. The proposal one, we totally understand, non-disclosure agreement, and that type of support is extremely one-to-one, and we understand that proposals are very sensitive topics, shall we say. Regarding the funding question I mentioned earlier, of one thing the expert can provide is suggestions or advice on how, or sources of funding for an individual to contribute to standards. So in the ICT field, there is Stand ICT, which is well known. So resources like that somebody could use. Obviously, if it's not an ICT topic, then maybe the expert will know of other support mechanisms, or also how you could be using your project budget to be doing this activity, which is really, with the proposal thing, this is what we want to encourage, that when you're writing a proposal, you're putting a budget and effort to be contributing to a standards meeting. So it's already factored in. If you're in an active project and that isn't factored in, then these are the types of things which you could be suggesting to your coordinator with the budget that, perhaps, with the budget you have, or, emphasizing the importance of this activity in the overall impact of the project. This is also a useful tool for a coordinator to get independent advice from a standards expert on how they could get their own partners more active, and having this type of activity linked better to the project to increase the impact that the project has.
We also have some questions regarding becoming an expert. One of them is regarding background. For example, is it requested that you have a background within policy or legal or so on? It is not. It is requested that you have a background within standardization, because you will be giving standardization advice. So that means you will have to be either have been involved with a standardization body or a technical committee or so on, in order to be eligible for becoming an expert. And there was also a question if we are training the experts. And we do have some workshops for the experts where they get to know HSbooster and what is the training material we have and the tools they can use. So all of the experts will get a little bit of training on how to provide the services before having to provide a service.
I saw also in the comments, Signe, that you'd emphasize the fact that for a project, the support is free. Okay, so Booster is a resource for projects. Basically, you know, if you're wanting advice or guidance on standards, then you can come to us. The Commission has invested in HSbooster II to provide this service for free for projects. Okay, so it's an important thing to emphasize. What we do is we pay the experts. So the experts are paid to deliver this support to you. So it's not done for free. So this is why there's a contract signed. There's a direct commitment from the expert to be carrying out this activity. I think there's a few questions about the amount of commitment from the experts. But, this is a paid activity. It's reported. So the expert is not going to disappear. That's what we want to say to the projects. You're going to get, and we saw in HSbooster, the first HSbooster, that the level and the quality of advice given to projects is really very, very high and very useful. Okay, so this is something else you heard from Paola, but as well as Paola, there were 90 other standardization experts delivering these types of one-to-one mentoring and advice. And then, you're not obliged to go and act. But what we do want to see in HSbooster II is projects acting and following up, maybe seeing if extra support to join a technical committee can be given through the accelerator service. And as we've all said, this is first come, first serve. That we have a healthy budget to provide these support services, but you want to apply and get involved as these services open.
Yeah, I may also mention this is something that was brought up as well, is that this is not a one-time offer, so to speak. So you may apply to these services more than once. This is a 3-year project. So maybe now you are in the proposal stage or the early stage of your project. It would make sense to apply and get some advice. And then maybe in a year or two, when the project is a bit more mature, you may apply again and get a service depending on where you are at the present stage. So you can apply as many times as makes sense for you and your project.
Okay, very good. I don't know if there's any other questions or things that you three would like to raise from the questions. Any other things that you've spotted that we should just cover?
Maybe Nicholas, concerning who can apply, it's always one representative from the partnership, not necessarily the coordinator or a partner who is, for example, in the past, a partner who is in charge of the standardization report or drafting a strategy on standards and so on. So I wonder whether it's the same, no?
That's absolutely right. Yeah, so you can apply. So we have evidence of supporting coordinators who need to activate partners or want to find a way to get their partner involved in or be contributing to standards with the results. And then, clearly the person who's going to be carrying out the work, it's them who we really want on the calls and the service to make sure they get firsthand the chance to speak to the standards expert and get the information that they require. Okay, very good. So I think what we can do, we've got a little bit over time, but I think that's great. We still have, a lot of people online. So I'd first of all like to thank Signe, Paola and Maria for their input and presentations, and also my colleague Gabriella behind the scenes, who's been managing the webinar. And thank you very much for your questions. What we'll do is we'll take stock of the questions that you provided, and we'll incorporate these into the information page. There was obviously, we also showed one thing we should say also, we also showed information on the open call topics. Okay, so the open call topics are areas which cover priorities priority areas for the Commission. Sometimes it's in a field where there's a standardisation request, or there's a need for input from the research community, basically. If you don't find a topic related to your project, please do get in touch with us. We have, the open call topic is so that we can order things, so that we know which experts to give, and also to, highlight these priority areas. But, this service is open to all EC-funded projects, all Horizon projects, and nationally funded projects. So if there's a field that's not there, then please write to us at the info message, or to myself, Maria, or Signe, and we'll deal with that. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. Again, everything will be, all the presentations will be online today, and the recording of this will be online probably in a couple of days. Take a couple of days to get ready for that. So again, thank you very much, and we'll see you. I think we have our first training webinar in September, so we'll be confirming the date for that. That'll be led by the University of Belgrade and Ivana Mijatovic there. So we look forward to seeing you there, and we look forward to seeing you at other events that we'll be organising. Okay, so thank you very much, and have a lovely rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.